Survivor Series 2023 was a paradigm shifter of an event for WWE. We're not going to waste any time here. Let's get straight to talking about CM Punk. Hello there, my very good friends. I'm Andy from What Culture, and here are 10 new directions for WWE after Survivor Series 2023. Number 10, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. This is something that could very well come to fruition, or at least the first seeds of it could come to fruition when Punk returns to Raw for the first time since 2014 tonight. But for me, this is the obvious route to go. And yeah, it is obvious. The clue's in the word there, but it's also great because they worked that rather tremendous angle at the pay-per-view where Seth's getting all held back by Michael Cole and Corey Graves and he's flipping him the middle finger and all of this stuff, and it's crazy. And it was to the extent where people saw it and they thought it was real, and then the reports came out and they clarified the whole deal. It's just great reality fiction blurring stuff across the board. You can lean on the history between these two guys, particularly when it comes to taking little shots at each other. Seth, of course, the more notable of those in 2023. But if you're looking for a red hot world heavyweight title feud for Seth Rollins, it's right there. It's landed on their lap. This is how you elevate this reign, elevate this belt, and elevate Raw as a whole. Number 9, something special for Rhea Ripley. At the time of recording this, Rhea Ripley has been champion for 240 days, and in that time she has mounted 7 successful defenses. Zoe Stark was the latest successful defense at Survivor Series, and after that, I think it's time to start building towards something pretty special as far as an actual title feud goes for Rhea. She's, in my opinion, one of the WWE wrestlers of the year in terms of what she brings to the product as a whole, not just in terms of match quality, and I do think that her match with Charlotte was one of the absolute best 2023 has seen, but her personality, the presence, what she does for the Judgment Day, how she lifts everyone in that stable up. At this stage, well, I'm kind of ready to see a big program. I want to see her versus, I don't know, Becky Lynch or whoever as they build to WrestleMania. The one thing this run from Rhea has been lacking is a signature opponent beyond the initial Charlotte match. It needs a big feud, culminating in a big blow-off match potentially at Mania. She's been great, but it has been overshadowed somewhat by the stuff she's been doing with Dominic Mysterio and the rest of the Judgment Day. Let's give her some in-ring flowers and let's spend some time with that. Number 8, RTruths Last Dance. The other big return at Survivor Series was RTruth, of course, who was involved in a backstage segment with some English blokes arguing over crisps and chips, and Pretty Deadly were upset. But hey, RTruth is back and that's cool because he's really entertaining. This is likely to be one of his last major runs in WWE, you'd imagine. The guy's 51 years old. He's been at this forever. He has enduring value as an entertainer, that is for sure. And the fact that he's been doing this for so long and he's still quite funny is pretty amazing in pro wrestling where comedy is often quite bad. So shout out to RTruth. I think that what he's been able to accomplish over the years is tremendous. Like, there's a role for funny mid-carders and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. So whatever comes next for Mr. Ron Killings, I hope it's a good time. I hope it's better than the 24/7 division for sure. And I hope that he can have a job with this company for life. He deserves it, and when he decides to hang it up, they should hook him up as a producer or something. Number 7, Santos Escobar ending the LWO. There are a lot of different directions you can go with Santos at the moment, coming out of Survivor Series, where he, of course, defeated Dragon Lee. He's probably going to wrestle Carlito. That was originally on the card before they worked an injury angle and switched the whole thing up before the pay-per-view. But you know, you got two sides on this divide. Rey Mysterio is, of course, on one. He's injured at the moment. He's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. But you've also got reports that people like Los Lotharios might eventually be involved, and they might take the babyface side. Well, Santos is over here with Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro, and how could Dragon Lee get involved? That'd be cool as well. He's already involved, Andy, you idiot. He wrestled at the pay-per-view, but he was another name who was attached to these reports prior to the show. The end game for this is probably Santos versus Rey one-on-one, right? Rey's going to be out for a little while. That can't happen right now, but you've got plenty of placeholders to keep you going until that can happen. But I think that at some point the LWO as an entity is just going to come to a full-on end, if it kind of hasn't already. If you're building towards this singles feud, it just kind of makes sense. We'll get the group stuff out of the way first, bring Rey back, and then we'll pay the whole thing off. Number 6, Gunther versus Brock Lesnar, but not quite yet. This one's going to need a little while on the stove because there's still plenty of material to cover with Gunther, which is quite mental. He's the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time, one of the greatest of all time with that belt. He's restored the reign for the first time in like 30 years. It's a tremendous run, one of the best things in all of wrestling this year, and yet there's still plenty of material for him. You can, of course, go back to the Chad Gable feud, and Chad, of course, has been pinpointed as somebody who could take the belt from Gunther after his failure to do so in the past. But Gunther's been talking about Brock Lesnar in interviews again, and I don't know, man, that sounds pretty awesome. Now, I'm not advocating for Brock to beat Gunther. He could, and it would be fine, but maybe you want to give that to someone you want to elevate a little bit more. You can't really elevate Brock Lesnar anymore. It would just be an incredible monster battle that we've never seen before. And anyone who's been watching my stuff knows that, for any great length of time, knows that I love the big beefy boys getting in there and just running into each other and doing chops and big slams and taking silly bumps and stuff. Gunther versus Brock would be incredible. Between them, these guys have the aura of like 1,000 men. Put that in a stadium, I'll fly there because I want to see it. Number 5, CM Punk crosses the line. And no, I'm not talking about joining TNA, despite reports that TNA actually made a pretty big offer to him before he went back to WWE. I'm talking about playing with reality a little bit. I think that when CM Punk gets the microphone on tonight's episode of Raw, at the very least, he needs to allude to what happened in the other company. He needs to kind of nudge, wink, wink towards AEW and his fallout over there. Now, obviously, I'm not calling for anything that's going to get this guy sued, because I imagine these people are lawsuited out their ass when it comes to the circumstances of his departure. But he's CM Punk, he's got to blur the line a little bit. If he just comes out and it's just pure fiction, you're getting a lame, watered down version of a dude who made his name by kind of blurring everything and mixing things up and taking little shots here and there. It adds so much to his presentation overall, and I appreciate that this is not everyone's cup of tea, but it is my cup of tea, and in this situation, I am Mr. Tetley. So get those little shots on the stove, make that promo tonight a memorable one. Daddy needs something to talk about on the news video tomorrow, and Punk can deliver. Number 4, Bayley being punted from Damage Control. This one was kind of coming before the pay-per-view, really, if we're being honest. They've been building to this. They've had Kyrie kind of side-eyeing Bayley and everything else. Like, what the hell? Why am I teaming with you? Why are you here? Why is EO teaming with you? This is strange. And now, of course, that you're pairing EO Sky, Kairi Sane, and Asuka together as part of the wider group. There's all kinds of interesting possibilities. Bayley took the fall at the pay-per-view. She took the manhandle slam through the pay-per-view. That wouldn't make any bloody sense for the finish. So there you go. Damage Control, the other members. Dakota Kai's injured. I don't know what you do with her right now, but she's on TV and that's good. They already have a reason to be kind of pissed off. Hey, you lost the match for us. That's not nice. Why did you do that? And you can split off in your separate directions and come up with something cool and interesting. I think Bayley's put in some great work with this heel character, but she's also been doing it for quite a while. I do believe a change would do her good. Going back to the wacky flailing in tube hug stuff, maybe not so much. It's quite difficult to go back to that after you've been kind of a bastard for the past 4 or 5 years, but I'm sure there's a happy middle to be found in there. Something new for Bayley would be tremendous. Something new for Damage Control as a whole. I think they've been doing some really good stuff with this stable. They've been building much of SmackDown around this faction, particularly since the Bloodline started taking more of a little step back, and long may it continue, because they're all great. Number 3, Damien Priest's cash in on ice. Not advocating for the man to try and pin someone on an ice rink. That would probably cause a broken ankle. It'd be really unsafe. Please don't do that. But Damien Priest almost cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase at the show, or rather, Rhea Ripley almost cashed it in for him. She came running down to the ring. It looked like Priest was maybe going to pin Seth Rollins and become World Heavyweight Champion. And then that big bloody bugger, Randy Orton, came down the ramp looking absolutely gigantic, interrupted the whole thing and put it on ice. I think it's going to stay that way for a while. There's plenty you can do with Priest in the interim. Obviously, Judgment Day lost that match. They've got to pick up the pieces. He's got existing tension with various group members. The interactions between him, Rhea, Dom, Finn, and JD McDonough are always tremendous. It's one of the best things in WWE. It has been all year. The job they have done with this group is tremendous. You can afford to kind of put the cash in just out of mind for a little while, particularly with a certain Phil Brooks showing up and potentially disrupting the World Heavyweight title scene anyway. Number 2, Randy Orton going full heel. This is something a lot of people had fantasy booked for Survivor Series, but I understand why WWE didn't do it. If you have a Randy Orton heel turn and you have CM Punk coming out 5 minutes later, yeah, the heel turn's getting overshadowed. It just is. So you need to wait a little while. You need to, even if it's only 48 hours and it happens on tonight's episode of Raw, but it is the right choice. Randy is just a bit more compelling as a heel, and it just so happens that he has a ready-made storyline with one of the biggest baby faces in the entire world, Cody Rhodes. I understand that legacy lore is not to everyone's liking, but I think it'd be silly for WWE not to play with that, and I would absolutely trust the two of them to make magic together, especially on the microphone. There's also the Jey Uso stuff. We saw we saw Jey giving Randy the side eye when he was announced as the final man in WarGames on Raw last week. There's all kinds of possibilities. Most of them are for heel Randy Orton rather than face Randy Orton. So let's just flip the switch. And at number 1, CM Punk mega matches. Hey, look, it's a pretty obvious entry for number 1, but just think of all the fresh, interesting people CM Punk has to face in WWE. Cody, Gunther, hell, do Brock again, why the heck not? Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, Chad Gable, the list goes on and on and on. This promotion is full of fresh, new, exciting matches. This guy hasn't been here since 2014. Basically everything is new, and that is the coolest thing about wrestlers jumping ship. I think you've probably got to get through as many of these as you can. CM Punk is a pretty volatile dude. I don't know if you've heard that. And there is always the possibility that he might blow up a little bit. So maybe you want to get through as many of these as possible and build something colossal for WrestleMania. Maybe you do the Seth Rollins match ASAP and move on to the next thing. I don't know. But the list of opponents is long, and I want to know who you want to see CM Punk face in WWE. Fire off down in the comment section below. Maybe it's absolutely nobody. That's a totally fine perspective as well. We just disagree on pro wrestling. If you want to see him wrestle an inflatable microphone, that would be fun. Not as fun as clicking this video that's on your screen right here, though. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you later.